All right, Ryan. First, I just want you to give us a little background about yourself. Tell us what you did before real estate, how long you've been in the industry, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I've been in the industry for about 2 years now. 22 years, born and raised in New Jersey. After I finished college, commissioned active duty Army, went around 5 different places over 7 years, landed in Hawaii, and decided to call it quits here and do real estate.
So you were in the military for several years. Thank you for your service, by the way. That means you've probably seen a lot of crazy stuff and been some amazing places too. So tell me about some of the places you were stationed, places you went.
Yeah, so there was a good bit of travel between graduating college and to where we're at now. My first duty assignment out of college was in Fort Benning, Georgia. I went there for infantry school and Ranger school. After that, I went to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, served with the 82nd Airborne Division. We did the GRF mission, the Global Response Force, where we could go anywhere in the world within, a 24-hour period. Wow. And then all the while, a couple years later, when I was still with the 82nd, did a combat tour to Afghanistan. After that, ended up going to Fort Huachuca, Arizona, spent about 8 months there, and then PCS'd over to Guantanamo Bay, PCS, permanent change of station. So just, permanent move for us on orders. After Guantanamo Bay, ended up coming over to Hawaii.
Okay. That was your last station before here.
Yep.
Okay. And what do you feel like you've been able to bring from those experiences into your completely different life as like a realtor and a business person?
Yeah. So there's a couple different things I think that stick out. The first one's going to be attention to detail. I guess the prime example is going through jump master school in the 82nd Airborne Division. Every little detail mattered. When we were doing JMPI and we were rigging people in parachutes, it's not your typical fancy parachuting. Like you come down, soft glide into the ground, like people are falling out of planes, people hit the ground really hard. Yeah. So you've got to make sure that everything's rigged up properly. Otherwise it could lead to some serious injuries or worse, unfortunately. After that, I would say Ranger school is the next thing that I think of, especially coming into the market that I did. I didn't really catch the COVID wave. I got into the market right afterwards. But the perseverance going through Ranger school, it's a 90-day or really 60-day, 90-day, maybe 100-day school for some people. And it's all about enduring and all about just pushing through the hard stuff.
As hard as it gets. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. It's known as the Army's premier leadership school. And it's that way for a reason. It's one of the hardest schools that most people in the military go through. There are some harder, but they're very few and far between and selective. So for that one in particular, it's all about persevering and just getting to the next step, putting one foot in front of the other and enduring the walk, really.
Tenacity for sure.
Yeah. And then after that, I think the third thing that I can apply is really just going to combat and focusing on what matters. A lot of the small stuff that we worried about back here, like some of the smaller trainings, we call it, regulation training. That all kind of went out the window. Obviously we wanted to uphold those things, but when it came down to it and we were in combat, that's really what mattered, was focusing on that mission. So applying that same principle of focusing on what matters here has allowed me to kind of weed out some of the smaller things that, people focus on that aren't as beneficial to the business and won't help your customers as much. Yeah. Kind of like dancing on TikTok. Not doing so much of that, but, really focusing on learning neighborhoods, learning about new build communities, learning how to speak to people and how to really communicate with them the best way so that they understand exactly what they're getting themselves into. Yeah. That's where I've really put my energies.
That's cool. That's a lot of application actually from the military. That's cool. Okay. So you're not only a realtor, but you actually practice what you preach. You're a homeowner and used your VA loan. Tell us about your journey as a home buyer and your next exciting purchase.
Yeah. So I bought my first home in North Carolina when I PCS there in 2015. Just small single family home, more than I needed as an individual, but it was in line with using the VA home loan. Then I used it 2 times subsequently. I bought when I first got here in January of 20, thankfully just before COVID. So that worked out really well. Then I saw the appreciation. I saw all the benefits of that. I got the low interest rate. And then when the market got harder and I started to get more and more into real estate, I was about a year and a half, I believe in. And that was last June. I ended up, before I got my out date from the military, I purchased my third home. And to me, that was the ultimate practice, what you preach. It was, interest rates are climbing and climbing and climbing. And I'm telling people that hey, I believe that it's a good idea to buy. I think it's a good idea to buy anytime. And I went and made sure that I did the same thing so that I can also say, hey, I'm not only telling you this, but I'm doing it myself too.
So they believe you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay, that's cool. So how much was that house that you bought in June?
That one I bought it at $900,000, but I also was able to get a substantial credit. I believe it was right around 3%. So it was just under $30,000 in credits, and that funded the 2-1 rate buy down and my closing costs.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
And how much do you think it's worth now? You did some work on it?
Yeah. So redid a lot of the flooring that needed to be done. Working on the yard currently, had to remove some trash. It was a little bit of a fixer-upper, but it's got an ocean view, so you really can't beat it.
Yeah.
So renovated the entire downstairs, turned that basically into a 2-bedroom rental unit, which I'm getting about $2,300 a month for, which is covering right about half my mortgage.
Nice.
There's 2 bedrooms downstairs, covers half the mortgage, and then 3 bedrooms upstairs. If I rented that out separately, it'd probably cover the rest and then some on the mortgage. So, very rare to find a cash flow opportunity with little down. I did take a HELOC out on the prior property to put down on this property, but not often do we see 100,000 down getting you any sort of cash flow on the property. But yeah, I think right now it's probably worth right around $1 million with the work that I've done.
And in your second year in the business already, you were named Rookie of the Year, 10 million in sales. So what do you attribute your success to?
Yeah. So in terms of actually finding the clients and finding the business, about 66% came from my sphere of influence and people I already knew. And about 33% came from additional web lead sources like OpCity and Google advertisements, which is, from our website, alohatony.com.
Okay. But I mean, a lot of people have leads or relationships, but why do you think you did so much better than a typical newer agent?
Yeah, so it's definitely the coaching that I received, finding the right organization, being pulled into the right organization, really. Definitely met the right people along the way. Obviously, first Tony brought me into EXP. And then after that, I'd say Lauren Graham had a huge impact on me just by teaching the ninja selling class and enforcing those principles. I think that those carried a long way, after already having that network.
Yeah. And I mean, when I think of you as a very disciplined guy, right? So let's talk routines. What does your average day and week look like?
Yeah. So actually, it all kind of starts with this. It's just a time blocking schedule, right?
That's cool.
Everything's down to a science. Got everything color coded.
That's my style right there.
Yeah. Every day is just, workouts first, right? Just start the day off with a little serotonin boost and, a little morning routine. I leave a lot of white space on the calendar actually too. It allows for flexibility, but things that I'm doing every day, I'm making time to reach out to people on my CRM, making sure that everybody that's a warm lead, I'm answering their questions.
And you're scheduling time for those kinds of activities.
Yeah, exactly. I have a green time block across the board just before noon really to make sure I reach out to those people. And that way, just being in Hawaii, I'm accounting for people that are across the United States and, reaching that time zone appropriately, right? So just the proper prior planning aspect, making sure that, when I'm making my call scheduled, it's not 5 p.m. our time, which is going to be, 11 p.m. on the East Coast. So, doing that at the right time and then allowing showing times to be on the weekends and that white space where I need a little bit more flexibility, just factoring that in as well. But definitely just focusing on those high value tasks that we have.
Okay. And then you've gotten a lot of your business through military context too. That's kind of a unique niche. So how do you make contact there? How do you keep in contact?
Yeah. So for me, it really all started with social media. It started with just building the Instagram page out, following everybody that I knew, speaking to them, not about real estate, just connecting with them and saying, hey man, how's it going? Haven't talked to you in a while.
Building that relationship.
Yeah, exactly. Just, I guess, reinvigorating what we had already spoken about and just people that I've met in the past and catching up with them, genuinely learning how they're doing. Yeah. And then
actually caring.
Yeah, exactly. Caring about what they're doing. And then, if they think highly enough of me, they see what I'm doing through the social media, whether it's Instagram or Facebook. And, handful of times they reach out and, if they're coming to Hawaii, great. And if they're not, then I can still help them. So
you're staying front of mind for them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. Okay. When you started in the business, did you ever imagine you would have such success so quickly?
No, not at all.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I never saw myself as a business person. And so it definitely comes as a shock. It's not something that I thought I'd be any sort of natural at, but, thankfully I've done okay so far.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you have some pretty big goals for this year. Tony actually said he expects you to double your business this year. So what do you have in place to achieve that goal?
Yeah. So right now, I think the focus is going to be just expanding on lead funnels. Right now, we're looking at 3 or 4 lead funnels. I've got my sphere of influence. I've got a referral network. We've got Op City, we've got Real Geeks. And then after that, just exploring the options to expand those lead funnels and take more market share, because there's a lot of people that have unfortunately fallen out of the industry right now.
Recently, right.
Yeah. And that's an opportunity as an agent to take in more of that market share as the interest rates are dropping.
Yeah. Is any of that new from what you were doing last year?
Yeah. Honestly, I was really relying on my sphere and then a lot of, Tony's lead funnels, but then if I can add one of my own, I'm hoping that'll help me grow my business too.
Yeah. So what is the main thing that you would tell a new agent starting out in the industry in 2024?
Yeah, I think the best piece of advice I would have is to weather the storm. We're in a very dynamic environment that's going to be affecting new agents, more than ever. It already has, with the interest rates being as high as they are. And then we see the lawsuits that are going around that are going to affect buyer's agents, which new agents are typically buyer's agents. There's not a lot of new agents that come in and they're
get listings right away. Yeah.
The bad seller's agents. So weather the storm, expect it to be hard coming in because of how dynamic the environment is. And then after that, I would say just to latch on to somebody, find somebody that's, good, experienced, willing to help you learn, willing to take you along, ride their hip, just learn as much as you can, because that's how you're going to grow in the industry. You don't just go out there and send it by yourself and think that it's going to be amazing. You've got to learn from somebody, and you're going to learn faster if you latch on to somebody versus if you try to go do it by yourself.
So thanks so much for recording with us today, Ryan. We love having you on our team, and you're just such an asset. And thanks for checking out Ryan Adams with us today. Aloha.